Hey, what's good, everybody? This is your president and CEO of the Colorado Springs Black Chamber of Commerce, Rodney Gillette, and it is National Black Business Month. We're celebrating this thing all over the country because Black business is making it happen. If you don't know it, now you know. And we are here live today with the reason why Black business is so good in Colorado Springs. We got my brother, Dr. Marvin Lee, co-owner of Purely Redefined Med Spa. Brother, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, blessed
Yeah,
and fortunate to be here, keeping
yeah,
good company this morning. So
nice,
everything's
man.
good today.
Right on, man. Like, one of the things I like about your background and my background that we have similar, we got these like things hanging up in the back, credentials and
Yes.
whatnot. What do yours say back there? What do you have hanging up behind you?
That one of those is my medical school diploma from Morehouse School of Medicine.
Mm,
My business degree from IE Business School in Madrid. And I think there's an Air Force medal back there as well. All those portions of my identity are near and dear to my heart. And then the one that's not represented there is Brown University, where I did my engineering degree.
right on, man. Nice, nice, nice. So we got a Morehouse, man. We're gonna put that there on the bottom. What other school did you go to? You went to another cool school too, didn't you?
Brown University,
Brown University.
Morehouse School of Medicine,
Wow.
residency in Memphis at Methodist Hospital, and
Wow.
I feel like the Air Force is his own university, although no formal schooling there, and IE Business School in Madrid, Spain.
Right on, man. So wow, that's a breadth of knowledge right there, man. So this brings me in. Like, I want to hear some more of this story. So tell me a little bit about yourself and your background and how you got started in this industry.
So, on a personal level, I'm from this little small town in Alabama, small but historic, Tuskegee, another
All right,
HBCU
man.
town.
Yeah.
Um, was always good at math and science, so ended up being an engineering major. But rather than taking a job in engineering, went to medical school where I met my beautiful wife. We relocated or
Who's your
located for
wife?
this Dr. Kenya Lee, Vice President of the Black Chamber of Commerce.
What's up, Kenya?
Extraordinaire.
Yes,
The
you're pretty
better
dope.
side for sure. Um, I was the one that talked us into the Air Force after finishing residency. That's how we ended up in this beautiful community in Colorado Springs. My wife and I were both Air Force doctors at the Air Force Academy, which is right out our back window. We have a beautiful view from our med spa. And
Thank you for your service,
later,
brother.
oh, thank
Thank you
you
both.
as well.
Yeah. Yeah, my
Um,
pleasure.
and then I was in the Marshall Islands for 2017. I was chief medical officer of this Army garrison where our government does missile and space defense. And when we were done with that, we came back and decided, well, what do we do? Like, what's our next move? Do we do what we have done for, at that point, almost 20 years, or do we do something different? So Purely Redefined represents that something different. We offer body contouring, anti-aging, skincare solutions to all skin types. We felt like there were definitely practices in town that were doing a good job and offering, appropriate services, but we felt like there was a gap where it came to skin of color. So we are here to fill that position and also move the community forward.
You see what shirt he
So
wearing,
cute.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Cute.
Yeah. Okay, man. Go tell mom to help you play him upstairs.
I need to go down.
Yeah. Let's play him upstairs. I'll be up in a minute. I'll come get you in a minute. I'll bring you down, okay? I'll come get you in a minute.
What's this for?
It's for work.
That's for your headphones?
Yep. Sure
Now,
is.
that's a beautiful thing.
Right here.
Sure is.
fatherhood.
You like it? Awesome. Yeah. I'll come get you in a few minutes. And then we'll play, okay?
I can't go upstairs.
Yes, you can.
I can't because I will say my room.
Okay. All right. You want to watch me talk? I'm going to talk to this guy. You see him? That's my friend, Dr. Marvin Lee. You going to say hi to everybody? Say hi. Say, yeah, you're right there. Say hi. Yeah.
Hi.
That's my little man I say. Yep, fatherhood.
Got to show them the
Let's
ropes
talk
early
about it.
too.
I mean, that's what daddy do.
Yes.
So we were talking about how you got into this industry. I do want to play this video that was created by this Nerf guy right here. Loves his Nerf guns.
Yes.
That was created by Kevin Davis at Guerrilla Media. Ladies and gentlemen, check this out.
Most people dream of having healthy, radiant, younger-looking skin. The reality is your skin is already beautiful. All you need is a little help bringing out its natural glow. That's our specialty at Purely Redefined.
Dr. Kenya and I are a team that blends science and technology to reveal your naturally beautiful skin.
At our state-of-the-art medical aesthetic spa, we provide innovative, non-surgical enhancement procedures for all skin types, including laser treatments and body contouring.
Just sit back and relax while we customize a skincare plan that gets you the skin of your dreams.
Schedule an appointment right now, and don't forget to ask about our monthly membership program at www.purelyredefined.com.
You're already beautiful.
Yeah.
Who came up with that?
That's our philosophy. I would say that when we were meeting with our brand folks and deciding who we are as a brand, that came up in all of our conversations. The fact that we don't make you a beautiful person. You're already beautiful. We just provide these fine little tweaks that make you glow even more so. But it's just, I'll say that it's just who we are. It's truly in our DNA.
Right on, man.
And shout out to Kevin Davis and Guerrilla Media. That I still smile when I see that.
If you want good commercials, that's the guy to call.
Yes.
He knows how to get it done. So what motivated you and Kenya to start this business in the first place?
So it's born out of our personal story. So when we came back to this community, we were actually looking as consumers, because we were in our mid 40s at the time and had noticed some changes in our skin and just wanted to make some little tweaks. So we went to some other practices just as a client, and felt like kind of the level of what we got as clients was not kind of where we thought it should be. And ultimately, my wife decided that we were competent and had the skill set to do it ourselves. And sometimes when you don't see a thing in your community, you got to have the vision to create that space and create that thing that will serve your community.
So tell me about what are some of the things that you saw lacking in similar businesses like yours that you figured out and you brought to Purely Redefined to make yourself different?
I think the biggest thing was a discomfort with treating skin of color. There are certain energy modalities that shouldn't be used in skin of color. And then there's some that should be used very thoughtfully and with caution. And I think when we went to engage other practices as clients, they didn't feel comfortable treating our melanated skin. And part of that is the way skincare dermatology is taught in medical school. There's a big focus on, on white skin, to be honest. And while we don't want to exclude that part of our community, we embrace that part of our community as well. We also wanted to offer something that our folks could consume and that would ultimately deliver results.
Wow. And how do you feel that's been going so far?
I will say that this may sound a little braggy, but I feel like we're the go-to practice for skin of color. I really do.
On, man.
Partly because it's literally in our DNA, and we're very thoughtful about it. We try to bring on modalities that can be used in all skin types and not only be safe, but effective in all skin types.
Wow. And that's awesome. It's, it might've been one of the books you gave me. That was, and thank you for those, that talks about, having Black physicians in communities, lessens the mortality rate of the people in those communities, which is crazy to me. When you talk about the skin services that you all provide, like having a business, a company out there like yours, definitely helps us keep better skin because I got to get this hashtag ready. Let's see. Because we all know this. Like, don't crack. And the reason that is because of companies like yours.
Right.
I'm not gonna make you tell everybody how old you are, but you look great, my brother.
Thank
you look great, young fella.
Thank you. And yeah, and I think we should all wear our skin with pride, right? So I'm 50 years old. So is my beautiful wife, and I think we've aged relatively well. But I think that the thing that has allowed us to do so is being armed with just the information we have in terms of how to take care of your skin. But it's also important to take care of yourself, to provide space for you to heal, space for you to step outside of your day-to-day grind, to recenter and connect to the thing that drives you. Those things are just as important in terms of how we age, particularly in terms of our overall wellness, as the glow that we're going to have on the outside as well. It should glow from the inside out.
Right on, man. And talking about progress in that area, can you tell me what have been some of your greatest achievements with this business?
With the business, I do think coming to the point where we really are the go-to practice for skin of color. Like, we get clients coming from as far as Denver. And if you could imagine, there are probably several practices that one would pass by on their way from Denver to Colorado Springs. But I think people have sought us out because they've heard about the quality of the work that we've done, and how we are very particular with the science. We try to offer things that are not just things that people will pay for, but things that will actually deliver results. And I think being the go-to practice for skin of color is something that we're definitely proud of. But we're in a part of town where most people don't look like us, and we're fine with that because we embrace all people, all identities. And I think the way I look at it is we would literally, if we could, give our community a big hug, and that includes people that look like us and people who don't.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
And that's good. And that, having that baked into your leadership at the CEO level, it definitely permeates every aspect of your business. And I feel that the community, maybe I should just speak for myself, but my observation of how you're radiating that in the community is stellar. I mean, I see it. So you've been in business how long now?
We've been open here for 4.5 years. And of course, there's the year or so before that you're planning and building out the space, and that we have been in this community, though, for over 2 decades. So we feel like we know what it has been, what it is at this time, and its enormous potential. But 4.5 years open here.
So in that time, can you share some of the challenges that you faced and how you overcame them?
So one of the challenges is just that psychological, take the first step. As a 2-physician household, you can often become comfortable to a point that you're complacent, like comfortable to the point where if you don't see the need, you see the need, but you don't step in and fill that gap, fill that void. That was the biggest step, like deciding to actually do it. And knowing that came with a certain amount of risk, but with a certain reward as well. And then just as a business owner, and I think I'm the person of the pair of us that own it, that's more into the numbers and the finance and the money. Funding is a big one. I've been in situations, and not necessarily in this business, but where literally when I'm talking to a banker or a bank, and they say you have excellent credit, you have great income, and everything should be a no-brainer, and yet there's somehow some obstacle in your way. I think a lot of Black businesses have that same obstacle. Like, everything looks great on paper, but we still don't want to take that risk. And one of the things that determines how quickly a business grows and scales is access to funding. It's one of the biggest differentiators if you compare one business to another.
So how are you overcoming this adventure to grab this capital from these banks?
We're trying to, at this point, approach the banking relationship as not so transactional, but as a relationship, like a personal business relationship. I think in the past we've seen it as we have all the right things, all the right boxes checked, but had not necessarily nurtured as much as we should have a connection with the actual person that makes the decision. So I think that that does produce a different type of result, but ultimately being smart about when to scale, when to say I need to tap into more capital. And at some point, we realized that we have certain expertise in medicine, in engineering, biology, chemistry, kind of the science of things, but we tapped into other resources in our community, particularly in the form of mentors. So people who've done it before, people who've scaled a company before, people who can say, hey, you're looking at buying a building or doing a thing, but let me look at your financials, and having people that you trust to do so and say, you're not ready yet. And sometimes hearing you're not ready yet from a credible person is the most important thing that you can hear. Because if you overextend yourself, you can literally spend yourself out of business.
So I want to go back to this funding thing, because this has been bothering me, and something that the Black Chamber has been tracking. What would be your message to these banks to get themselves together to start providing funding to these Black-owned businesses out here in the community, and doing that better? Like, what would be your recommendation to them? What would you say to them if you have them online right now, the bank presidents for all the banks? What would be your message to them regarding this issue?
I would say that Black businesses are just as effective, and maybe even more so than other businesses, and are not quite as higher risk as they may think.
Man, okay. Don't lose your thought. I want you to put a pin in that, because of you guys, I have a great example of Black-owned businesses being at that height of excellence. I want to give a shout out to Dr. Dwayne Moore.
Yes, love him.
Give me the name of his company.
Woodman Views Dentistry.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
So
my dentist.
So yeah, right on, man. And he's about to be our family's dentist too. So we've been around all these big chain dentist offices, all the big ones. The ones you Google, they pop right up on top. Got big buildings everywhere, and they failed miserably. I took my son to one. He's got 6 cavities in his mouth. This guy, and we know that because Dr. Moore found them.
Yeah.
But we're not under insurance for his thing yet, so we're paying out of pocket because he's so good. But they this dentist office didn't even see the cavities. It's like, dude, there's 6 of them in there. And he's like, oh, like he didn't take the little instrument and poke the teeth or nothing. He just opened it and just looked and made a determination. And when I think of Black physicians, Black medical professionals in our communities looking out for us, that is an example. You have somebody with 6 cavities, and this so-called top doc didn't see it, but dude, I'm taking them to Dr. Moore. That's the top doctor. Lidocaine to do the cavity stuff. We had people telling us they want us to go to the hospital and have him put under general anesthesia for a cavity, because the lidocaine doesn't work. Like, well, let's try some more lidocaine and give him anti-anxiety pills. Like, are you serious right now? Like, we're looking on Google, we're finding solutions. None of these dentists have any clue until we get to Dr. Moore. He's like, dude, I got Septicaine, it works. And it's like, okay, so none of these big practices knew who Dr. Moore was. This brother's been here how long?
Decade or so.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
And none of them referred him to us. It was because of you and your wife that we found out about it. So I mean, that's serious to me.
And they are personal friends as well. I'll say that they are also HBCU graduates, Howard University. Both, and I refer to both Dr. Moore and his wife, who's an orthodontist, Dr. Lockett. But they are high level kind of achieving people in terms of what's in their brain, but also how they care for people and how they deliver their services. So that's exactly what we try to be, by the way. And I think there's an unwritten tradition, I think, in HBCUs that if you're going to get out of this institution and wear our name anywhere, that you're going to be at a certain level of quality.
Yeah. Right on, man. So I just want to give that shout out, Dr. Moore. Thank you for giving us the chance to do that review and make that point that there's a lot of expertise and talent in this community. Yes. So back to your message to these banks about the funding, please proceed.
Yeah. So we're not as big a risk as you think even on paper, or just the perception that Black businesses don't do their due diligence. In fact, we're baked in, or it's baked within us, a certain amount of grit, because we have to navigate a little bit differently. So we kind of expect to hear no, and then are pretty good at pivoting once we get the no that perhaps we expected. But you have to go through the process and do your due diligence. The other thing I would add is, historically, when our people were enslaved, banks were part of the system that enabled that. So if you were a plantation owner and you needed to expand your business to scale, the same banking institutions that perhaps tell us, no, you're not a good enough risk for us to lend you money, were the same institutions that funded the expansion of slavery, which, of course, oppressed our people. So so there's some historical perspective that I think if you're in that industry, not necessarily all people will have, but those same systems that produce the outcomes of, that have magnified over the generations, continue to kind of disproportionately tilt the playing field away from us in terms of being a favorable sort of situation, or giving our businesses just as much opportunities to succeed or fail as any other business.
That's the thing right there.
Because a good entrepreneur will fail, and they will fail and say, okay, I'm going to do the next thing better, or I'm going to execute better the next time.
Give us the opportunity to succeed or fail like everybody else.
Yes.
It's not a hard ask, banks. Okay, banks. Thank you, banks. And thank you, Dr. Marvin Lee, because that is something we're definitely going to be pursuing here very aggressively to get that fixed. So what boards do you sit on?
Just, I try to limit that, just because you try to be fully present when you're there and try to make be a person that makes a contribution. Yes. So the Colorado Springs Chamber and EDC, the newest one for me, and I think the one that probably I spend most of my time with, and then Court Care. So Court Care is an organization that provides childcare for parents who are kind of caught up in the legal system who can't afford it. So that one is dear to me because I've had some close family members kind of in the system, so to speak. And, what do you do with your kid when you have to show up before the judge on a certain day at a certain time? And if you're not there, of course, there's going to be a warrant issued for your arrest. And we know that those type of issues are more pertinent in poor communities, marginalized communities, sometimes communities of color.
Wow. And how long have you been with Court Care?
2 years and change. Chamber EDC is the newest. The thing that my next plan is hopefully Office of Economic Development and International Trade, kind of at the state level. That's the thing.
What do you want to do with OEdit, man?
I want to be part of the process in terms of how funds are allocated, right? Sometimes people will say that they can't find a qualified Black business owner, Black person who's come from a disadvantaged setting to give funds to or to support in whatever way drives the needle forward. But I think sometimes it's just a matter of perspective, who's on your boards, and who they are connected to. Because if we always choose people who are like us, then boards and commissions, et cetera, will start to look very homogeneous. And we know that diversity gives us strength in all of our organizations.
So you are an alumni of the Colorado Governor's Fellowship.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hickenlooper, for putting that together. Thank you, Governor Jared Polis, for keeping it going. So did you gain any perspective about the involvement of people of color at these higher decision-making levels when you were in that program? Did you get some visibility into that while you were there?
Yes. And I think the two main things that I came away with is, yes, people are interested in improving diversity, but we're not there yet. So there definitely is more work that needs to be done, but people are actually putting their money where their mouth is, so to speak, and also walking the walk in terms of getting more diverse representation across all levels of government.
Right.
I think here is a great example. I mean, our current mayor, Yemi Mobolade, is also a governor's fellow.
Yes, he
Rodney
is.
Gillette is also a governor's fellow, and there are many. And I think we are becoming an increasingly more connected group of people. I'd like to hopefully do some things to facilitate that as well, like the governor's fellows who are from or in the Colorado Springs area, to get us together, get us more connected. And but yeah, it was a great experience, by the way. I highly recommend it for anybody that can be chosen, because often the first step to figuring out how to serve and how to plug yourself in is understanding how the government works in the first place, and to know where the opportunities are.
Yep. Knowledge is power, my brother.
Yes.
Hashtag that one. That's a good one. So tell me about some of the visions or goals that you have for Purely Redefined. What's next for you guys?
Owning our space at some point, and we're not there yet, but we'll get there for sure. And a deeper dive into wellness. So, it's a good thing for the face, which is the thing that, everybody engages, the smile, the wrinkles, and all that.
You have a great smile, brother.
Thank you. for this part to look great. And then there's some body contouring things we do as well. But ultimately, we like to also be a wellness company. So like, how do you unplug, recharge? We do some IV vitamin infusions, which a lot of companies do as well and do well.
Tell me about the infusions. Like what do you mean?
So
vitamin infusions.
We do vitamin B12, folate, vitamin C, zinc, magnesium, manganese, but all the things that we feel like are necessary to maintain your body functioning well and your organs. And we also add some things that kind of enhance your recovery, say from workouts, or as you age, like probably past the age of 35, you start to lose a little bit of muscle mass. So some amino acids that we add to some of our infusions help with that. But ultimately, I started that part of our company with really a focus on me being almost 50, now 50, and like, how am I going to maintain a relatively healthy lifestyle? How am I going to be able to perform athletically, et cetera? And I think the way we do our infusions was very targeted towards me, but definitely has application across all sectors, and all like sort of lifestyles.
So how do the infusions work? Is this a pill? Is this like some juice that I got to drink under supervision? Like,
no, we place an IV catheter in. We mix it in a bag of saline, typically half a liter or a liter of saline. So you also get hydration. And And rather than focusing just on the hydration, we try to focus on the nutrient content, because one of the things that we know that's happened over the decades and the generations is that our food does not provide as much nutrients. So an apple 50 years ago probably had a lot more nutritional value than an apple does today. So to bridge some of that gap, but also to get people optimized so they can go out and serve their communities. That's kind of the way we look at it.
Right on. And how much is a service like that? Is that a subscription-based service? Or you just pay monthly and you come in and get like...
You can just pay monthly at this point. Like, I think we start somewhere around $120, and then it can go up kind of based on other components that you add to the mix. But it's a thing that I personally do every month. It just helps me to deal with and to be more adaptable. Like sometimes you have to check in with yourself and say, hey, I can't add another thing to my plate, and I have to step away from certain responsibilities. And then there's sometimes you give yourself some time to recharge and you go back in full speed. I think this allows me and also Dr. Kenya time to recharge and go back in kind of full speed and be fully present in all the things that we participate in.
Right on, man. And we definitely are a better community because of all the things you participate in.
Oh, thank you.
I love being on the board.
I would say the same thing to you. Although this interview is going in the other direction, but I absolutely appreciate all that you do. And you know that. Man.
You know what? Love you too, my brother. Hey, so like, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs?
Pick your mentors carefully and ask them the right question. So like so mentors can be older, younger, more or less experienced, but they have to be somebody that brings something to the table or some skill set that you don't have. And sometimes that can just be somebody who's done it, but asking them the right question is also important. So if you ask your mentor, should I do this? And they see risk and they don't see your full vision, sometimes that can be the wrong question. Sometimes a more appropriate question might be your expertise. Say your expertise is in finance. How should I finance this project that I'm thinking about? And what are the potential pitfalls, rather than should I just do it? The other thing I would say is be in the present moment, but also be future minded at the same time, which is a hard balance. So sometimes you have to be able to tap into your own power to create a thing that's not even there yet, and be confident in your vision to the point that you're going to build this thing that nobody else can see. Then you have to come back to the day to day and be in the present moment as well. So it's a fine balancing act, but you have to navigate both that future-minded thing. I'm building the thing that maybe no one else can see. And then also in the day-to-day, like, how do I operationalize this thing to the point that, I learn from my mistakes?
How do you keep your confidence? How do you keep your confidence? When you're, I think of COVID, right? And COVID took shots at your confidence.
Yes.
I think of that same summer of 2020 with all the, public executions of people that look like us. Like, that takes away at your confidence. You may have lost some clients, maybe a bunch that kind of put you upside down with your revenue model. But it takes a shot at your confidence. Like, how do you keep your confidence up?
That can be hard. Like, so I try to think of it as, one, knowing that you have all the tools, knowing that you should do well if you make the right decisions, but not to put so much pressure on yourself that when a thing doesn't turn out the way you want it to, that you don't consider that a failure. You just consider that to be a learning opportunity and you keep moving. Having the right people giving you advice and sort of in your ear is super important. Like, people who will build you up, but people who will also give criticism in a constructive way. So sometimes, you get those naysayers that are like, why do you want to own your own business anyway? You can work for whomever and be fine.
And be fine.
And some people So, and that's a good thing for a lot of people, but you know, that keeping your circle small but powerful is important, because when you hit those things, those obstacles, you can say to yourself, I knew I shouldn't do this. I knew I wasn't good enough. Or you can say to yourself, I had a bad day and I'm going to have a better day tomorrow.
It's all about how you see it, man.
Yes.
I like that part.
So having your people tell you the right thing, but also what you tell yourself is important.
So there's a lot of networking out here. There's a lot of organizations you can be a part of. You and I both serve on the board of the Colorado Springs Chamber and EDC. But why did you join the Black Chamber?
You know, I think part of it is my vision was an ecosystem, like one that is not here yet. It's coming, like every day, every week, every month. We're closer to that goal. But I think the role model for me was Tulsa, Oklahoma, now over 100 years ago. And what was built there when certain obstacles were removed and when we took the initiative to build the ecosystem that we needed.
Took control of it. Sure.
So that for me is most of it, really. So not only for the success of my business, right, which I certainly have an interest in, but the whole ecosystem and building it almost from the beginning. You know, I would say when you all rebranded the organization, it was a new beginning. And certainly I would never take away from what the folks did before you. But it was time for just a new energy, a new direction. Yep. And I do applaud you all for doing what you continue to do.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for being a part of it and supporting it. And thank you, Dr. Kenya Lee, for being the vice president and, you know, helping to drive this stuff forward. So speaking of ecosystems, I'm about to get to my last question here. How can the community help support and engage your business? You know, how can we help you make more money?
Come see us. You know, I think once you are in the space, the feel, the sound, the smell of it should all be welcoming. And then I think once you cross the threshold of our front door, you'll know that this is the place you belong in. Like you'll have kicked yourself for not having come earlier. But just come check us out and see what we can offer. Tell your friends about us. Subscribe to our social media, our Instagram or Facebook. But we're pretty confident that once you're in the space and once we talk about what your concern is and what we can do, one, I think there's a certain humility in what we do, but a certain confidence as well. And we're generally here to serve you. I think, so just come check us out, tell your friends about us, and we won't disappoint you.
I know you won't, man. What's the phone number over there?
719-452-8541.
Give me that website.
PureLeeRedefined.com. Purely, Lee, like our last name, doctorslee.com.
Brother, thank you so much for spending some time with us this morning. I heard the doorbell dinging because that's business coming in, man. It's like that is a glorious sound. Your phone's ringing, the door opening, you know, transactions being made, people being helped, looking better when they come out, man.
And thank you for having me, by the way. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely, man. The pleasure's mine, man. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dr. Marvin Lee, Colorado Governor's Fellow, board member for the Colorado Springs Chamber EDC and Core Care, and a great business professional here in Colorado Springs. Thank you, my brother. This is Rodney Gillette, Colorado Springs Black Chamber of Commerce. Find us online, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it, cosblackchamber.com. You can find us, like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit that little alert button on YouTube so you can see all the new stuff we have when it's coming out. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again next time.
Yes. See you at the mixer tonight.
All right, man. See you at the mixer tonight.